What's going on, CDL fans? As you can tell, we're talking about Rostermania, and we got some more updates about some teams and some rumors, so let's talk about that. First things first, we got a rumor of Standy, come here Standy, headed to the Minnesota, or not Minnesota Rocker, I was looking at his shirt, headed to the Toronto Ultra in place of hecz. So, I mean, I'll move hecz out of the way just for simplicity's sake at the moment. But apparently we'll be looking at Standy coming in here to pair alongside CleanX as the SMG duo, with Scrappy and Insight as the AR Flex duo. Definitely interesting. I mean, Standy's more of a proven player in the CDL than hecz, so it makes some sense possibly to be bringing him in. I think Standy, had a down year last year, so he definitely has low stock. We saw how good he was in Cold War in his rookie year, so definitely know what Standy's capable of. And I think this could be a decent move. I mean, Standy should get on a team if you ask me, but there's not a lot of options left. So I could see this happening with the Toronto Ultra, but it'd be interesting to see. I mean, obviously they'll have hecz as their substitute. I'll put them in there just so we can see them all together like we have with some of the other teams. But I think, hecz, I think, could have a starting spot, but I think Standy's more of a safer bet to probably bring in and give you a little bit more of someone who's CDL proven, CDL experience, to kind of play your slaying SMG player alongside your aggressive submachine gun, run in there and gun people, CleanX. So I think this could be a good duo. This team would be interesting. I can see them having a really high ceiling, but also like a mid to low floor. This team could end up being like an 8 through 10 team, but I could also see them end up being like a 4th place type team, depending on how well they all do. And if Scrappy comes in and looks as good as we think he's going to. Nasty, it's also looking like maybe like Nasty, Paul Zero, and someone else on this team for London. Nobody's really exactly sure. I mean, maybe Gizmo, but obviously that's 3 AR players, so don't really know if that's going to work. Will be interesting to see kind of how, what happens with London. We really don't know pretty much anything about them other than it's apparently going to be Paul X and Zero and then someone else. So hopefully we see something cool, but I don't really know what we're going to get from London. For the New York Subliners, it's actually looking like it's going to be Priesta coming in here to pair alongside Skies as well as Kismet and Hydra. So definitely an interesting team. I mentioned this in my last video where I was ranking these rosters. I personally feel like this team on paper does not look that great, but I do think this team could be really good if they get their teamwork and they mesh well together. I mean, Kiz and Hydra, we saw what they could do as an SMG duo, so we definitely know they can be a good duo in League. And we know how great Skies is. Obviously, Priesta has had some pretty bad years over the last few years, but Priesta can be a really good flex. He's very good with both weapons, both the AR and the SMG. So depending on the meta, I think he's a really good flex. But if this team can really mesh well together, I think they can do really good, because Skies can put up some big kills as well as Kismet and Hydra, and Priesta can kind of just be the other guy who kind of like fills in gaps, fills in lanes, and sort of like fills whatever they need. He can really be that filler guy, be that glue guy for this team, and I think it could be a really good roster. Do I see them being like the best team in the game? Probably not, but like I said with Toronto, I think they can have a high ceiling but a low floor, so they could be like a top 10 team, or they could be like a top 4 team. We'll just have to wait and see. And then I also saw some rumors that we might be seeing Capsule and Tej going over to the Las Vegas Legion. I almost said Paris, the Las Vegas Legion, which I think could be very interesting, right? I think Capsule deserves another shot. I think he looked really solid, honestly, at Boston when he was playing, but they obviously switched him out for Vivid, which makes sense because Vivid was being able to keep up with the pace of Nero. Capsule was a little slower. Tej, on the other hand, I don't know. Tej hasn't really looked good for a few years now. I don't know if he really would be getting a spot. I mean, maybe. And then maybe you bring in a guy like Clay to be your 4th. I mean, a team like this would be interesting. Obviously, Tej going back to an SMG rather than playing a flex here. You'd have Clay as your man AR, Temp as your flex, and then Capital as your SMG, or another SMG. This team might have some pacing issues. I mean, I feel like they'd be kind of slow on the map, which, I mean, I guess we don't know how MW2 is going to play out, but I could see this team being pretty slow around the map. So, I don't know how I feel about this. I think it could be interesting, but I don't necessarily see exactly this happening. Maybe take out Clayster and put in a different SMG player like Asim, I think might be even better, or like Prestini, but Capsule would have to speed up to keep up with one of those guys, which is a similar situation to what happened with Boston last year. So if we want to slide Clay back in here, just because he has been rumored, obviously, to be going to Paris, I think you come down here, and let's say this is all the rosters. Obviously, there's one slot open on London. I think Wardy makes the most sense because they need an SMG player to pair alongside Nasty in this situation. And Wardy obviously is a EU-based challengers coming up, hopefully SMG players. So I think that makes a lot of sense. But it obviously leaves some really good veterans like Gunless, like Asim, like Crim6 as free agents. So definitely, I mean, interesting to kind of see what'll happen. But if this is hypothetically what the league could look like going into next year, I think it could look really interesting. I think we got a bunch of teams. I think the top 5 of Thieves, Optic, FaZe, Minnesota, and Surge. I think that's like your top 5 based on these rosters. I think it looks really solid. I'm excited to see some challengers players coming up, like maybe Vickle or Wardy or maybe Mohawk. I mean, I'm excited to see some of these guys come up, Beans, and hopefully make a name for themselves in the CDL. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we're looking at right now in Rostermania. Let me know what you guys think about some of these rosters down below. What do you think is going to happen with this Las Vegas Legion team? Because obviously we really don't know anything other than Temp for sure. So let me know what you think is going to happen with them down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe for more CDL content, and hopefully I will see you all in the next video.